This is the HuntStand podcast, coming at you from the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention for another episode in our turkey special here, directly from the greatest event for turkey hunters all year. I'm here with my good buddy, Brian Lovett, and, talking in an earlier episode with Kurt Dyroff, the co-CEO here of the NWTF. One of the things that kept coming up was the cool part about this event, or the best part about this event, and being part of this community is undoubtedly the people.
And your champion, number 9, Hunter Lovett.
Brian, you're somebody I've known for a while now, and I'm going to tell you something right now that I don't know if you really fully realized, but when I was starting out as an outdoor writer, I was working for a magazine called North American Hunter.
Yep.
And our mutual friend, who was my editor at the time, Gordy Cron, I believe he got us connected.
Yep.
When you were with Turkey and Turkey Hunting magazine.
That's right.
And you accepted one of my queries, and I probably downplayed it a little bit, just trying to fake it till I make it. But that was one of the biggest deals in my entire career yet to this day.
No kidding. That's great.
To be able to write for that magazine, man, was I couldn't believe it. I went and bought multiple copies when my first article came out. I still have them at home. And I continued to fake it. Brian continued to let me write for the magazine. And I just wanted to say, while we're here, because I don't know if I've ever really fully thanked you, that I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. I remember the article very well, actually. And it was a few years ago, but it was good stuff, and I appreciated it then.
It was a long time ago. I would say, it was probably around, 2011?
Yeah,
something
that sounds
like that?
about right. So that was a regular magazine until 2013. So that would be about right, yeah. That was my second stint with Turkey. And I remember that you were still at North American, and Gordy was over there. And I think I'd met you at the shows, and we talked a little bit. But I remember the query and that first article. I think the picture that went with it, even. So
wow,
that worked out great.
That's a good memory, because I'm sure the writing wasn't as memorable as I would like. But yeah, dude, that was a pretty big deal to me. And so that's a good segue into, let's just drop kind of a quick timeline introduction of yourself.
Okay.
What you've been meddling in over the years as it relates to turkeys, and just being a writer, editor, content creator, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Wow. I started really outdoor writing at a newspaper I worked with in the late 80s, early 90s, and went from there to Krause Publications doing a state magazine. And then a year later, the editors of Turkey and Turkey Hunting retired, and I got that job. It'd be 95, I believe. And I did that, for many years in 2 stints, I think from 95 to 2002, and then from 2008 again through 2014 at Krause. And then after that, I went out on my own, freelancing, but part of that was being a field editor for the On the Hunt section of Turkey Call with the NWTF, and doing other work with NWTF too, and turkey and waterfowl hunting content for other vendors as well. So, along the way, I got to really get an education about turkey hunting, meet a ton of great folks, basically learn how to turkey hunt from many of these legends in our industry, and go to some places I never thought I'd be able to hunt, have some experiences I never would have imagined. And I look back, it's been almost 35 years now doing that, and it's been a pretty incredible trip, I got to admit.
Yeah, dude. You might it might make you blush, but I think you also know it. Your writing and the stuff that you have done, as far as authors of turkey content, turkey material, is prolific. Everybody knows your name.
Well, that's cool. It's great to have been a part of it for so long, I got to do a few books along the way too, and it's just it's been great. Just to be able to write about and be involved in something you love to do is incredible. It makes going to work every day a treat instead of misery. So
where are you at today? I know is it accurate to say you're a staff writer for NWTF, or?
Yeah, I'm basically a contract employee with NWTF for the On the Hunt section. I'll do a feature and a column with every issue of Turkey Call. I also do some stuff with Jake's Country magazine. And then another part of that, I also help coordinate and chair the Grand Nationals Calling Championships, too, here at Convention. So it's kind of multi-layered responsibilities, I guess. So, but, and it's the calling contest stuff came up, I think 9 years ago when Matt Lindler was still overseeing editorial, and he asked Mark Prudhomme and I if we'd be interested in helping run it. And, Mark, being a decorated contest caller, was in, and I've always really loved contest calling just because I learned a lot about turkey hunting from many of these contest callers. Mark Drury, Steve Stoltz, Don Ship, Chris Parrish, those guys, got to hunt with them, and they gave me a whirlwind education on turkey hunting and calling. So to be involved in it, I thought was pretty cool, and it's been great. It's been something different, but kind of a great experience along the way.
So as far as the competitive aspect, have you ever competed in any contest ever?
I have not. Nope. I've judged at the state level in Wisconsin and some local contests, and that's been about my experience. Never competed, but probably attended. I don't know how many Grand Nationals. The first Grand National I attended was 1996 in Atlanta. Walter Parrott won, and I was just blown away. I'd never seen a contest before, and to go in there and see Walter and Chris Parrish and Stoltz and those guys call was just mind-blowing, that someone could sound that good, sound that much like a real wild turkey, and I was just hypnotized from there on in. It's
humbling, man. I did a few contests many, many years ago, and I started to get that itch, and right out of the gate, I mean, I probably did like 4 or 5, and I did decent, but it was pretty apparent that, like, if I didn't devote 110%, that I didn't stand a chance to get anywhere with it. And I knew that I wasn't good enough to get anywhere with it. It was fun, and I enjoy the pressure of being on a stage. I've been a musician for a long time, so there's just something about that. There's a certain kind of high that you get with it. But I knew that I either had to ramp it up or just stop, because that's kind of how my personality type is. Yep. It's like, if I'm going to do something like that, I can't just do it for fun. If I'm going to do something competitive, I have to, like, give it my everything, right, and really kind of see what I can do. And I was just like, man, I just didn't want to. Yeah. I didn't want to, because I know how much devotion, and it's year round, that goes into these guys being the best of the best. Yep. And it's like you said, it's remarkable. It's remarkable to hear these guys call. Yep, you mentioned that. I mean, talk to guys like Chris Parrish or Josh Grossenbacher. I mean, Parrish would tell you that he'll be cutting the grass in summer and have a diaphragm in his mouth. He's yelping the whole time. Josh obviously makes calls, as part of his living. He's yelping constantly, and then it shows. I mean, like, that's the level of devotion to get to that World Grand National Championship level. I mean, I'll start practicing, after the holidays, and I get to the point where, like, oh, right, it's all right, then I hear these guys, I'm like, man, to take this next to that level, that is serious. It's humbling. It's depending on my mood, it's kind of demoralizing. Right. I'll be pacing around my house yelping, and then I'll feel pretty good about myself, and then I hear those guys again, and I'm just like, I want to crawl under a rock. I don't even want anybody to hear me calling. But so you've obviously been attracted to the competitive side with all the judging and whatnot. I mean, 30 years now. That was 30 years ago you saw your first contest? Yep, 30 years. Yeah. 30. Exactly. Yeah, exactly 30 years. Yep. So why it just never had a draw for you personally? Is it something you weren't interested in, or are you similar to me where you're just like 100 or nothing? I'm very similar in that respect, yeah. At first, after I saw the first contest, I mean, I knew I could not have any chance of achieving any success. I mean, I had a lot to learn, a lot to practice,
And, I did. I practiced a lot, first with friction calls because those were easy, but then also with a mouth call and trying to get better with that. And, I got to a point where I felt pretty good about all my friction stuff, and the mouth call still needed work, and then I'd work on that, constantly driving to and from work. But then I would get distracted too, I would run my calls religiously, leading up the months before turkey season, and then through turkey season, and then it kind of stopped. I still felt like running them, but then summer would get going, and I got to September. It's like, well, man, deer season's coming up, duck season, all this stuff, and I would get involved in that, and I wouldn't run a call for a few months, then around the holidays I'd start picking them up again. And it wasn't like there was a huge drop off, but you're definitely rusty, it's a perishable skill, you call best when you're calling a lot, because you can, you don't, it's almost like muscle memory. You can put that striker to the pot or whatever, where your tongue placement and your airflow's got to be. So I never really thought about it competing, just because I kind of felt I wasn't good enough, and then I got to a point where I thought, well, I could maybe compete at the state level, but then I started judging too, and to me judging was every bit as fun, because Wisconsin at that time had a really good state contest where a lot of guys from out of state would come up and call. I mean, Stoltz, Billy Yargus, Chris Parrish won it twice. Scott Ellis, Shane was there, Simpson. So it was a legit contest. I thought to be able to judge that was really cool because you got to hear some really good yelping, during the course of that. Morgenstern would call. Scott Wilhelm was a great caller back in the day. So that kind of, I guess, scratched my itch a little bit on the contest side. And so I could be involved in the contest, and I didn't have to get up on stage and embarrass myself either. So.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've known each other for a long time now, but I think have we only been in that one turkey camp in Florida together?
Florida, and then there was Oklahoma that time at Todd's.
At Todd's,
yeah, when
all right.
Matt Lindler was there. Yep.
Okay, that was lingering in the back of my brain. I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you about that. I've been out there a few times.
Yep, and that was a good camp. There were a lot of birds. I think Mike Capps was there, and it was. I think we all did very well. I just remember bird numbers being really good, and I think we were. Was it the first morning or maybe first afternoon? I don't remember, but we were hunting across the road from where you were, and I actually got to hear you shoot your bird, I think. So Caps and I were like, we heard one gobble, and all of a sudden hear the gunshot. I'm like, oh, that's Josh.
I think that was the trip. I'm pretty sure, because I've been out there now turkey hunting, I believe, 3 times, and then I've been out there deer hunting a bunch the last 4 years in a row, I think.
Okay.
We do a camp out there. But I believe that was the trip where Todd was like, you want to see more jakes than you've ever seen? And this was spring, so we're not talking about a wintering flock. We're talking about spring birds. And I believe the number was like 48 or something. It was when they were really still kind of gangbusters out there.
Yeah.
And we rolled up on this, it was a wheat field or something. And sure enough, there was just like dozens of jakes out there. And I'm like, man, next year should be pretty good. And I don't know if I actually made it back the next year. But that's an iconic place. I'm sure you remember this, but those old VHS videos, those guys would always go out there.
Yep.
And they had the biggest, at least what Todd says, according to what biologists told him, I think that property that they would film those HS videos on had the biggest traditional roost in all of western Oklahoma.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And I've actually killed a deer out on that property, and I think they went from taking like, Todd said they would kill like 50 longbeards off that property every year, and now he said they only take 8 or 10.
Really? Oh,
something happened, and it was I think that roost had like 550 birds on it or something at one point, back in the iconic days when HS. Do you know what footage I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is, of all the videos I've watched, that's something that always stuck in my head. And when I went out there to deer hunt, we rolled up in that property, and he's like, yeah, this is where that big roost was. And I was like, I got like a tingle down my spine, and it was kind of sad because, I learned that something happened with those birds. I don't know if they actually ever figured out what it was, if it was a disease or something, or.
I don't know. I mean, I never got to see that. I think the last time I hunted there was probably, I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019. It was with Tim Anderson before he passed. And the bird numbers were tremendous then, too. I mean, maybe not to that point, but it was still like it was a go-to place. If you got a chance to hunt western Oklahoma, you were going because it was lights out, just great gobbling, and those turkeys would come forever across that stuff to you. And then after that, I think is when they started having trouble, and then, of course, the regulations changed, and now I've not been back since, so I hope they can figure it out and get it back to at least a facsimile of what it was back in the day, because that was really something special.
Well, I know the NWTF is really hard at work catching up on a lot of research that is just really critical right now. Spoke about that in another episode. And, hopefully they can figure some of this stuff out. It's still a mystery, and just like with anything, we'd like it to just be one factor that we can go in and solve, and it's always just a multitude of things, and just trying to diagnose it is difficult. Right,
and they've got the process underway for sure. I mean, there's a lot of research, a lot of money being poured into it, a lot of brilliant biologists looking into it. So, I mean, they're gonna come up with something very positive very soon. You know that, and I think a lot of it's already underway.
For sure.
Habitat for the hatch, and emphasizing brood rearing habitat and nesting habitat. I mean, that's always going to help. If we can raise more turkeys, obviously we're going to have more turkeys to hunt. Populations will be better. So, and I think we're in a very positive place and going in a better direction right now. So,
I agree, and it's a lot of this is focused on the southeast right now, and is focused on like particular flocks in different parts of the country that are no doubt struggling to grow. But there are a lot of bright spots too. The places I've traveled, like in the last 5 years, I have seen some incredible numbers in Oregon and up in the Northeast in Vermont and Maine and New Hampshire. And even at home, we don't like to let that secret out too much, but somewhere up in the Midwest, I'd say there's a couple turkeys, maybe where we like to kick around now and then. But yeah, so there are bright spots, and hopefully some things to be learned from those flocks that are flourishing.
It's spring, and when we're not in the studio, you'd better believe there's only one thing on our minds: chasing longbeards. That's why we're a proud partner of the National Wild Turkey Federation and fully support its mission, the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage. The HuntStand podcast is also proud to partner with Savage. They offer our favorite tools for taking turkeys with the Renegade Semi-Auto and the 301 Single Shot. We're also excited to be running the new Ridge Runner series of turkey vests from our partners at Avian X. The Ridge Runner and Ridge Runner X are built for long days of running and gunning or sitting and waiting for stubborn gobblers. And remember, as a HuntStand Pro or Ultimate member, you can save major cash on some of the best turkey gear in the new HuntStand gear store. So check it out at HuntStand.com.
We kind of went off the beaten path. What I really want to get down nitty-gritty on here with you, talking about the competitive calling circuit, the Grand Nationals. You mentioned Josh Grossenbacher, a mutual friend of ours who's one of the best. Mm-hmm. We just talked about hunting in western Oklahoma. I was fortunate to have Josh has yelped up a couple turkeys for me. One in Texas, another one in western Oklahoma with Todd Rogers. And that last one he yelped up for me was, dude, it was like a 30, 40 mile an hour wind. And that bird came in, he was blown up, but he was just like, he was like a sheet of cardboard tipped over coming in. His fan was tipped, but he was still doing it, and he was just coming like a magnet to Josh's calls. And that is, as far as calling in turkeys goes, that's one that really always sticks at the top of my mind, just because it was so cool to watch him work that bird. But the competitive side of things and judging, let's get into that. And actually, the reason why we're going to have to jump up the pace of this podcast is because you got to go Was it upstairs?
Upstairs, yeah, in the Davidson Ballroom. We got a contest starting at 10, so yeah.
Kind of an important one, sort of.
Yep, it
maybe
is.
the biggest.
Yeah. It is. It's the whole event is the Super Bowl of turkey calling. It's 3 days, 7 contests, culminating with the Senior Open Championship Saturday afternoon. And that is the absolute biggest contest in turkey calling. And it's the best of the best, to even get here, to qualify, the caller has to be a champion, at the state, regional, local level. And then you put them together, and then to pick 12 of those guys for the finals is an incredibly tough job. And then to pick one out of those 12 guys in the finals is amazing. And, at the end of the day, Saturday, when those top 5 guys are on the stage, those are the absolute best turkey callers in the country at that moment. And that's a pretty amazing achievement. But the whole event is fantastic. We start with the team, which is great. It's air and friction. It's kind of a fun event. Then we go into the friction prelims. Tomorrow we have the senior prelims, and then one of the funnest contests to watch is the youth contest, which starts tomorrow evening, runs into the night. Pulse Juniors Intermediates, and it's really great to see those kids call, not only from the participation standpoint, but most of them are really, really good.
Yeah.
Especially on the friction stuff, some of those kids are amazing. They're every bit as good as the adults. So
I've watched a few. I've paid attention to a few coming up. Hunter Wallace being one of them. Mm-hmm. We work with Hunter at HuntStand, and we support what he does with his stuff over at Rogue Hunts. And so I'm excited to see how things shake out for him this week. And then the other one I've paid attention to is Gracie Herman. Mm-hmm. Sounds like she's going to be throwing some good punches this week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I talked to her a little bit yesterday. She's excited this year. Her first year in the, the adult friction division. So she is fired up, and she had a lot of success as a youth caller, Grand National title, several top finishes. So she's going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think. And it's cool to see young people like that coming up, It's kind of like the future of the sport, materializing right before your eyes. Hunter has been in the senior division for quite a while now and had he's made the cut every year, I believe, which is incredible. And last year finished third. Which if you saw the contest, the guys he finished third behind was Dave Owens and Matt Van Sice, multiple Grand National Championships winner, and Matt, of course, probably the best contest caller of all time, and Hunter was number 3, so he is going to be one to watch this year for sure.
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Gracie, that's cool because her dad, Doug, I know we make this joke a lot, in the turkey hunting circle, but we talk about people who are like part turkey. Mm-hmm. Doug is one of those people. Like I think if he could, he would probably fly up every night and roost with birds. Mm-hmm. And he's and the reason is because it's year round. Yep. There's some people who just kind of clock in, maybe late winter, after Christmas or whatever, and then June 1st, it's over with. They don't talk about turkeys the rest of the year. But it seems like Doug is it's turkeys all the time.
It is. It's constant. Yep. He's filming turkeys in fall. Literally going to the roost and filming fly downs, getting all this content of tree yelping and fly downs and everything nonstop. In the off season, he's building calls, talking about calling.
His nail calls are cool. I still don't have one, but they sound so good.
They sound incredible. I got to get one too. I've been thinking about pulling the trigger on one for how long here now. I just need to do it, The way he runs them, that's such a turkey sound to it, that soft nasally yelp, and it's great.
Well, for those of you who are watching, we'll pull a clip right now and drop it in here of Doug Herman running the nail call. You probably never even heard of a nail call, but you'll see in the clip what this thing looks like and what it sounds like here. We'll play it.
Proper nail call.
And it's a unique call, and it sounds so turkey. Mm-hmm. I'm almost surprised that they haven't caught hold more on as far as friction calls go, because they're just freaking awesome.
Yep.
But so let's talk about judging. You just mentioned, Dave Owens, Matt Van Cise, and Hunter being some top dogs last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many questions I have, but how does the judging work? Just in a nutshell. I know it might be a little bit complex to go through all of it, but like, explain to people how judging these competitive callers actually, like, what does it look like?
Well, basically, again, without getting too deep into the weeds, there's at the Grand Nationals, every panel has 7 judges, and with what we call a compulsory call, a required call, like let's just say a plain Yelp, they're scoring that call on a scale of 1 to 20. And, like say in the prelims, there are 5 calls. So they're scoring 5 calls, 1 to 20, 100 total. And then all the scores are tallied up. And then the high score and the low score are thrown out. And then it's basically the middle 5 that count toward that caller's score. And then those are obviously ranked in order. And at the end, there's often ties, and you have to have a call-off sometimes, and that's a separate score, and that'll determine, often it determines who wins the contest or who gets second versus third. So there's really, it's an involved job judging. And a lot of my duties with the Grand Nationals is to kind of put together these judging panels. So I'll start, right after Christmas, trying to get guys, committed. Are you going to be in Nashville? Are you interested in judging? What are you available for? And obviously at this level, I'm looking for the top turkey people in the country, most of whom were or are contest callers themselves, We got a lot of guys who are retired callers, a lot of guys who are active callers. For example, a lot of the active friction callers will judge on the senior side for senior prelims. And then we try to make sure every panel is as good as we can get it. We really want the finals panels to be the best of the best, I'd love to look at every friction finals and senior finals panel and just have people go across the board and say, wow, those guys are all legends, all Hall of Famers, And I think we've done a pretty good job of this because it's a very tough job. When you get to that level, the differences between number 12 and number 1 are very minute. It's a half point here and there. If you'll watch the friction scores from the last few years, that contest is decided by a half point or a point, and the top 5 are often like maybe 5 or 6 points apart. So that's literally one judge giving a 19 versus an 18.5 on a certain call is how tight that is.
Dude, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
I actually still can't even comprehend it. And what I can't comprehend is the consistency of the judging. Like, when you have somebody like Matt Van Cise or Dave Owens, like when you have these guys who are consistently at the top like that, it's just proof that the judging is consistent.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can get a group of guys together who have their ears that well trained and that consistent and like weird psychology doesn't play into it or something where it might shift your feeling about something day to day. Like that's almost as impressive to me as the calling itself.
Yeah, it really is. Good judges make a good contest. Poor judges, the contest quality suffers. And, I look at the prelims as the real test because you have, like this year, we have 50 plus callers in the senior prelims, and if you've been around contests at all, you know that it's just human nature that the scores are going to continue to rise the more callers you hear. So callers who draw a late number are typically going to have a better chance of scoring better and making the cut. But a good judging panel is going to pick guys from all over. They'll pick caller number 5, caller number 12. They're not just loading up on guys in the last third of the contest. They're picking guys from early on. If they hear turkey, they're going to score turkey. And that's what last year was a great example. That panel did a fantastic job, and they picked guys from all over that field, guys with early numbers, middle numbers, late numbers. And when you assembled them all on the stage, and after that, you looked at it and said, man, they got it right. They did a tremendous job because those were the top guys that year. Incredible.
The other thing that kind of shocks me, and I'd like your thoughts on this, with how many different folks there are in the field, every year, I would just think that every year there'd be like, not necessarily random, but like some dude would all of a sudden just like rise to the top. But you get people who win year after year. It's like, how is there not somebody out there who can just come in and whoop them? But like, I guess that also goes to show like how good they really are.
Yeah. Yep. You're very right. I mean, you've traveled a lot, and you've probably run across some guys. You heard them call like, "Man, that dude is really good." You know, do you compete? No. You know, so I think there's that, and maybe there are a lot of good callers out there. Some of them just don't want to compete. A lot of callers, when they start to compete, they've got the sound, but they don't really have the stage presence. You know, they haven't learned how to call in a competition. I mean, they're trying to sound like a turkey, of course. That's the main thing. But there are little nuances to it. And Van Cise is great at this. He'll tell you how he learned coming up to call, where to stand on stage, where to direct his calls that scored better. You know, and if you watch him, he's very deliberate when he walks around the stage, where he calls, where he makes those calls from. And it's obviously worked for him with 9 Grand National senior titles and 8 world titles or whatever. So, and guys like that, Dave, Josh, I mean, they have so much stage time. They just know how to present those calls. Their routines are polished, you know. Their rhythm's always good. You know, a lot of guys have the sound, but they have the entire package, you know. And another big part of that, too, a lot of guys can really do a few calls well. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Every guy up there today, I promised you, can yelp, you know, and is going to have a really nice yelp, cluck, cut. Those separator calls, you know, keying, clucking and purring, Jake or Gobbler yelp. You know, when they really refine those sounds and get them, that's when the scores really start to come up. And those guys you see, you know, those guys who are always winning, they've got, again, that whole package.
You kind of just answered what I was going to ask, and that is, like, when you get to that level, what can you even do to like take it a notch up? And like, when you say a half point, like, what would that look like if somebody wins and pulls ahead of somebody else between the number 1 and 2 position, let's say? Like, what would be an example of what would cause that half point difference?
I guess just more realism in the ears of the judge. You know, whether I was talking to a judge yesterday, and he was talking about his process of how he listens. You know, and and he told me he's looking to, you know, bump guys up if he hears something he really likes. You know, he's like, you know, give me a reason to bump it up a half point here. You know, and not just be middle of the road stuff. So, I mean, I think every judge scores a little bit differently, but I think when they really find that hen they like, or that sound that they think is authentic, that's when they're going to really score it, you know. And, you know, obviously if a caller makes a mistake, they're probably going to get docked a little bit too, but even on a clean routine, it can be clean, but maybe it just didn't resonate with that particular judge so much. But when they really hear that turkey that they like, or that sound that they think is ultra realistic, that's when they're going to bump it up, you know, 18 and a half, 19, even a 20. And, you know, and these guys will give some 20s this week too, which, I mean, at this level, you know, that judge, having heard that many turkeys in his life, you can get a 20 at that level. That's amazing. That's really perfection.
This is something I want to ask you that might be a little bit controversial, but as a judge, especially somebody who does it year after year, and this isn't just speaking for yourself, but is it a thing that you can tell who's behind that curtain, or vice versa, like who's in front of that curtain? Can you tell with these guys who are at the top level, like let's say the top 5, can you hear and be like, oh, that's him?
I can speak for my own judging. Yeah, you could. Now, because some guys have a signature sound. You know, it's not that their routine has giveaways or tells or anything, but they have a signature sound, and you can tell when they went into like their key or their excited yelp or whatever, you pretty much knew who it was, you know. But I was always still going to score it based on what I heard, You know, I mean, even if I knew who it was, if I heard an 18, I would score at that. If I heard, man, that's really good today, you know, I would bump it up, you know. So I'm sure that does translate to this level too, because, you know, the calling community is fairly tight-knit, and these guys have all heard each other call. People share sound files all the time. Some callers have a signature sound that you can close your eyes and know pretty much who's on stage. But, you know, these judges too, because they're very, very serious about the integrity of these contests, and they're not going to, they might even be friends with that caller, but they're not going to score them just because they're friends. If that friend, that caller, would make a mistake or just didn't sound as good that day, they're still gonna dock them. They're not gonna give them as high a score. You know, they're gonna be a fair and impartial judge, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
You know, and that goes way back, you know, because these guys have all really come up together and called, and they're all friends. It's a very tight-knit community, you know. So they want to make sure that the person that's supposed to win that contest that day wins that contest, at least in their ears. So.
Yeah. Just like with any major sporting event, it's all integrity is everything. So, yeah, nobody wants to. If anybody pulled a fast one, it'd be slighting the whole thing. So,
Yep.
Nobody would want to do that. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, I guess, how has it changed over time? How has the sound changed over time? And then a question layered on top of that. Okay, I know the sound has changed over time. But if it has, then is it because callers have gotten better, or how has it shifted in terms of like actually trying to sound like a turkey versus like calling for the stage? Because we all know, anybody who spends enough time in the woods, like most hens sound different, and a lot of them sound, from a stage standpoint, sound like crap, you know? And I'm sure you've probably got this question a million times, or it's been a topic, but what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's true. I think everyone will admit that turkeys have different voices. You know, the top guys will tell you they have different voices, different tones maybe, but they always have that turkey rhythm and that, you know, I guess the essence of, you know, that perfect sound. So through time, yeah, I mean, if you'll watch like old clips, and there's some on YouTube that are great, like back in the day with like Preston and Ray I and Billy McCoy and guys like that calling, the calling has gotten, it's better. You know, just to be honest, it's better. It's much more smooth, and the presentations are so slick and realistic. And, you know, some of that is because with modern technology, the calls are so much more consistent nowadays, whether it's friction or mouth calls. But again, you know, this is how many generations of callers, too, who have learned from previous generations and been able to, you know, kick it up a notch, I guess, and hone their sound, improve their sound, add realism. You know, even since I started watching contests, you can tell when people, it would start to change year to year. I remember when Shane Hendershot was winning, he started doing stuff that back then no one else was doing. I mean, like the whole fly down routine with his beautiful little soft stuff and that explosive fly down cackle. You know, he would do the whole routine, which wasn't all that common then. And all of a sudden, everyone was doing that, you know. So, I mean, a lot of callers, they'll kind of follow each other, too, because they see what's scoring, obviously, and they want to, you know, have that success as well. But, I mean, I just think little things like that. I mean, it's just an evolution over time till we've reached this point where all these guys just sound tremendous, you know. And you know, if you compare this Grand Nationals to one that was 30 years ago, I mean, these guys are you can definitely tell a difference. It has come a long way.
Well, I know you got to get rolling upstairs, so I think it'd be fitting to end on where do you plan on yelping up some turkeys this spring?
Oh man, anywhere I can. Right now, if we draw for Kansas, we're going there in April, which I'm excited about. Missouri, let's go with my good friend Steve Stoltz in Missouri. I think I'm going to head out to Wyoming again in early May. around Devil's Tower area. That's always just such a fun hunt. It's just beautiful. And then, we've got back home, probably 3-4 weeks of it there too until late May.
You don't ever shoot turkeys in Wisconsin.
Well, there aren't very many turkeys in Wisconsin, so if you were thinking about going there this year, I wouldn't make any plans. But
the hatches have been horrible. The winter's horrible. There's probably not any birds left there.
It's been so cold this winter, I wouldn't bother. But we're blessed. I mean, it's fantastic hunting, and I just love it. It's great. I mean, we're really blessed to have that kind of resource to be able to enjoy every day. So, but we end the 26th this year, so I might have a little time to hop over to Minnesota or Michigan too. We'll see. So it'll be fun. I'm excited to get going on it. I'll be tired by June, but that's all right. Got a whole other 9 months to rest up.
Dude, the saddest day of my season, or the saddest week of my saddest week of the year is that first week of June.
Oh, it is.
Not having a reason to get up anymore. It's a rough adjustment, but I know we both hunt in Wisconsin, and I can tell you that even though I know our paths don't cross really, and we hunt in different areas, I still think I run into a few birds every spring that I can hear them whispering your name in fear. So save some for the rest of us.
Oh yeah, I will. No, I definitely will. You never want to kill them all, of course. You want to try every day, but you always got to leave some for seed, that's for sure. But I just enjoy getting out and doing it every day. That's what I love about our current system, I mean, not that you necessarily need to kill one every day, but you have the opportunity to get out and interact with
Absolutely.
them. See different things, hunt different places. I mean, you can get in a lot of experiences those last 3 weeks of Wisconsin turkey season. That's awesome.
It's always the pinnacle of my year. I spend way too many hours over there, morning, noon, and night. Out there a lot of times probably when I shouldn't be. But Brian, I know you got to run upstairs. I really appreciate you jumping on for this episode of the HuntStand podcast. For those of you listening and watching, we appreciate you tuning in. Drop us a review, a comment, a rating. Spotify, YouTube, Waypoint TV. We're on all the major platforms. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.